Hi, I'm Ben Russell-Smith, founder and managing director at Laser Lamps, and of course our US subsidiary R Lights based in Arizona. Today I'm going to tell you about the Carbon series. So motorsport and power sports in the US is a very tough environment. These cars are racing through the desert in events like the Baja 1000, Mint 400, and in these conditions there's a lot of dust being thrown up from the cars in front. The conditions can change quickly, and for that kind of racing it's absolutely paramount that the driver has good lighting and good control of their lighting. So people might wonder what goes into the development of a product like Carbon Series. Well, one of my best experiences on developing this product was actually sitting in the passenger seat next to one of the M Sport World Rally Championship drivers. And as he's driving around the forest lanes, he's pointing to the dark spots. And let me tell you, that is quite an experience. With that kind of feedback and this kind of driver input, we were able to perfect the beam pattern and really understand the needs of those drivers. Because when you're driving around a forest stage or through snowy conditions and you come against a wall of snow ice, as they call it, or ice fog, that's where you need the kind of technical advances that we've put into these products. The Carbon Series Gen 1, it had original carbon fiber lamp body and shell. It had that increased distance and it had that lightweight. Over the years since then, we've seen more and more different types of race customers adopt the product. And in that time as well, we've brought out advances and improvements in the product to make sure that we stay at the very front of motorsport lighting. So the Carbon Series features a technology which enables the beam pattern to change from a high beam to a lower or dipped beam. So in case of foggy or dusty conditions during those desert races, you're able to rapidly change the position of the beam of light so that actually it's illuminating directly in front of the vehicle in the first 100 meters, or once the air clears and you've got a clear visibility, you can, at the press of a button, increase the height of the beam, get it back on the horizon where you've got this huge long-range performance. So in terms of lumen output, the Carbon 6 has got a 7,800 lumen output. Carbon 4, we're looking at 6,240 lumens, and the Carbon 2, we're at 3,100 lumens. All of our Carbon Series lights come in two different beam patterns. We've got the spot beam pattern, which is giving huge long distance performance and actually still a little bit of width on that long range spot. We've also got a drive beam pattern, which is a much wider beam pattern. So with the drive, we're achieving 60 degrees of left-right spread and about 15 degrees in up-down spread. While the spot, we've got 32 degrees of width, and we've got a slightly tighter 12 degrees up-down spread. Now, interestingly, in terms of power consumption, we've been careful with the Carbon 6 in particular to stay within certain restrictions of a lot of race car power control modules. So actually, with the Carbon 6, we're drawing 5.9 amps of power at 14 volts. But we've got something called active power management on this product. And what is that doing? Well, if the voltage is getting low, so let's say the engine is off and the alternator isn't running, due to the restrictions of certain power control modules on the vehicle, we don't want to go above 7.1 amp of current consumption. And it ensures that actually, even when the engine isn't running, you're not going to have very high current draw. All of the Carbon lights feature a inbuilt 4-pin Deutsch connector, which means that you've got 2 for power, and then you're able to control the move to low beam or fog with voltage being applied to the 3rd pin. And then there's also a 4th pin which allows you to control the switch to reduced intensity. So in terms of fixing the lamps to the vehicle, The Carbon 6 is featuring side fixings only. The Carbon 2 and the Carbon 4 also feature the same side mounting solution, but we do additionally have a front fix solution on both the Carbon 2 and the Carbon 4. So this was really developed with Motorsport teams' feedback in mind. So quite often from an ease of adjustment point of view, the race team would want to be able to turn a screw from outside the vehicle and adjust the lamp in an outboard or inboard or up, down direction. And actually the only way to do that in a fast and effective way is to change the fixing from being side mount to being front fix. In terms of the weight of the product, so the Carbon 2, we're looking at a weight of 230 grams, thereabouts. The Carbon 4, we've got a weight of 350 grams, more or less, and the Carbon 6, 450 grams. So the Carbon series also come with a range of lens covers, as pictured here. The black lens cover would be used so that you're keeping the lamp completely clean, so that when you get onto your night stage, you can whip the cover off and you've got a clear lens and you can then see with maximum performance. In case the fog or the snow is getting particularly bad, there is a yellow lens cover, and this clips onto the front of the lamp, avoiding the need for having external clips going around the product. It enables the lamp to be fully embedded in a bumper fascia or a rally pod without the need for having additional cutout areas to allow for the clips. But it is important to say that the Carbon 4 and the Carbon 6 do also feature a PWM function, so that's a pulse width modulation function, and it would enable a race team to tune the beam pattern coming out of these products to however they would like. So in terms of the color of light coming from these lamps, so we're using a high color rendering index LED. So color rendering index is essentially the quality of light that you're getting when you're driving. And I know how important this is at the top end of motorsport. And in fact, I remember being in a Swedish rally on a test drive with one of M Sport's drivers and them highlighting the importance as they compared this to their previous lamp technology, and they were delighted by the increase in contrast they had from our products compared with the previous generation of lighting solution. Additionally, they're at the natural daylight end of the spectrum, so they're 5,000 Kelvin color temperature. They all come with a 5-year warranty, and we ensure that the quality is at the top end with a very extensive testing program that happens not just here at our factory, but also in conjunction with some of our customers in real-world situations. So I hope that gives you a bit of an idea about the Carbon series. In case you need any more information, please do contact our sales team in Arizona. We've got a very technical and capable team there with our US inventory. Until the next time, see you then.